At Man City Fan TV, we're really pleased to promote this wonderful sketchwork artwork by a lady called Leslie Ross. You can follow Leslie on Twitter at 111Leslie111 and also follow her on Facebook and Twitter at 9320art. Hi guys, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV. I'm here with two big, massive Chelsea fans, and this is Andy and Jimmy from the Attacking Two. They do a lot of podcasts and videos and things like that. So, guys, thank you very much for coming on the channel.
Thanks for having us, man. We're very glad to be here.
What we're going to do is we're going to discuss, going to talk about where Chelsea are at the moment. Lots of talking points, where City are. Yeah, you might put your head down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to preview and have a quick discussion about Sunday, the Carabao Cup final. So to kick us off then, I don't know who wants to go first, so feel free, put your hand up, whatever, because dealing with two people. Okay, so Andy's going to go first. Just very briefly, in a minute or so, can you just sum up where Chelsea are right at this moment in time as of today?
In a shambles. That's the shortest way to put it. I think we have a discussion over the manager. We have a fight between the fans. We have a terrible run of performances, not only results, because the performances have been evenly poor. It's not only that we're losing in a fashion that has never been the case, at least in the days of me supporting Chelsea. It's also the way we play. It's players seemingly playing against the manager, or at least Jimmy suggests that. I'm not quite sure about this. And yeah, that's basically what Chelsea is at this moment in time. Something we have maybe latest experienced when Mourinho had the bogey season with us, but yeah, not something we're used to. Okay.
Before I come to you, Jimmy, currently Chelsea lies 6th in the table. Okay. Played 26. You have won 15, drawn 5, lost 6, 53 goals scored, 37 against. So you've got a plus 16 goal difference, sitting on 50 points. Okay. Now, you're level with Arsenal, who are just above you with the same points. You're only 1 point off United in 4th. Is it such a bad season so far?
To keep things brief, I think if you would have asked me that, or a lot of Chelsea fans at the start of the season, people would have said, you know, this was to be expected. This is a completely different brand of football we are trying to implement at this club after well over a decade of more conservative defensive football. And, you know, being only a point off top 4, that would have been good. But after having such a stellar start, it was kind of at the, you know, when he joined, everyone was saying he'll have a difficult initial period. He himself was saying that, and then it would gradually get better. But we've regressed, and I think that's what's hit most fans who have been ardent Sarri supporters the most. Me, for instance, I myself have been shocked by how it's gotten worse than that it should actually gradually get better. And that's why I think people are taking this drop in form and dropping out of the top 4 so badly compared to if one would have asked us at the start of the season. And the thing is, it doesn't look as if things will be improving anytime soon.
Okay, so like I said to you, you are 1 point off United in 4th. At the beginning of the season, what would have been a successful season to you? I'll come to Andy. What would have been a successful season for you at Chelsea? Considering everything that Jimmy's just said, that you know you've got a new manager, you're adapting your style of play, what would you have accepted as a good, you know, an average season of expectations?
Well, with Chelsea, I think top 4 has to be secured at the end of the season, no matter how. I think these were also the objectives that were handed to Maurizio Sarri: rebuild the team. Well, that hasn't been the case now because we don't have enough transfers, at least of players coming in. Squad's not young enough. Jorginho here, Higuain only on loan, so he hasn't got the squad he maybe needs in order to do that. On the other hand, it was a question of finally we will abandon that style of defensive football, parking the bus and all that for God knows how long have we played that kind of football. And I think fans were finished with it. When Antonio Conte went out, fans were relieved, and it was long a question of who's going to get in. And once we've heard that Maurizio Sarri is taking over, we were excited. At least I think 95% of the fans were in favour of Maurizio Sarri. Hearing and seeing what he has done with Napoli, we wanted that style of play, that brand of football. It's a Guardiola style, more or less. And Guardiola is friends, is pally with him, and I can understand why. But as of yet, we haven't secured top 4, and it seems likely that we are not going to. We are maybe the best chances we have of securing Champions League football is via the Europa League, but that remains in doubt. And the brand of football isn't here. So what do we have at the moment? Nothing.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Is like I just said to you, you are 1 point off United in 4th. So, and there's still, 12, 13 Premier League games to go. Lots of teams have got to play each other. United got to play City. You've got Liverpool, with United. So big game on Sunday. Certainly not just our game, but the Liverpool United fixture as well. That's coming up. So you talked about players not coming in. Well, you spent £186 million on 3 main players. Kepa came in for £71 million. I mean, £71 million for a goalkeeper. It's eye-watering. But you sent Courtois the other way to Madrid for 31 million quid. So you got Jorginho on at 57 million quid, and obviously you got Pulisic, who's obviously coming in the summer, is not here right now, which I think is a good signing at 58 million quid. Do you think you needed more players? Because you only got rid of Fabregas, who was a mainstay at 10 million. So, Jimmy, what are your thoughts on the transfer? Those sort of major transfers that happened at Chelsea before the season started.
Okay, before I go into that, let me just say, as you are a Man City supporter, even though it sounds as if we did spend a lot of money, we cannot compete with you or with Liverpool financially, not anymore. And
we spent £32 million on a keeper, and we were absolutely slated for 32. You spent £39 million more on a keeper.
Yes, I am aware of that, but you have to think of it this way: he was signed on an 8-year contract. First of all, second of all, we needed a goalkeeper, and the problem is that our mismanagement at board level was, as Courtois actually said this, I think it was this week or the other week. At first, we were saying, yeah, you can leave. Then suddenly we said, no, he can't leave because we haven't got a replacement. And it just seemed as if we were headless chicken in our hierarchy because we had no contingency plan regarding goalkeeping, our goalkeeping position. And all the good choices were gone. And, it is a lot of money for a keeper. I'm aware of that. But Chelsea doesn't spend a lot of money nowadays if there's not actually a long-term idea behind it in regard to, it's an 8-year contract. Who signs an 8-year contract nowadays? So that is
What about Willy Caballero?
What about Willy Caballero?
What about Willy?
Yeah, I know. I like him. He's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great backup goalkeeper. And
only joke.
No, really. I do think we could do much worse than Willy Caballero as a second goalkeeper. But disregarding Kappa now, what did we spend? Outfield players. You have to think of it like this. We are trying to implement a completely new system, a complete new era of football at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah.
And we buy one outfield player. One single one, 2 loanees. That's not enough because we don't know if they're actually staying. So no one can tell me that is enough. Pulisic wasn't a Sarri signing, and he's coming in the summer. What use is he now? So I would have actually even spent more, given Dortmund more so that he can come in, although I'm not actually so much in favour of him coming in general. But that is the point. I don't think that. I mean, there are a lot of factors that have led to us being in the position we are, but he hasn't been adequately backed from the board. That is an absolute fact.
Well, are you talking about Sarri hasn't been adequately backed?
Yes. Well, actually, not only Sarri, but also Antonio Conte. Often there was lacking funds that were given to him. Although,
Well, I think the previous season you spent £236 million on 9, 10, 11 players.
Yeah, no,
Ross
that was
Barkley's and 30 odd millions on. I think Conte was back the season before. Whether the players he bought was actually, the amount of money and the amount of outlay on those players was huge, absolutely huge. Considering it was about 9 or 10 new players in Danny Drinkwater, all of these type of. I know. I only have to say Danny Drinkwater, and suddenly there's
We have no direction.
That's
direction. So that was a big problem, because now we've got all this deadwood that isn't going to be moved on. Danny Drinkwater is actually one of the highest earning players in our squad. No, let that sink in. It's just
my point to this is, should all this blame be laid at the door of Sarri? Sarri is trying to implement a particular style of football. You had massive outlays the season before with, as just mentioned, it was about 230 million or something like that on 9, 10, 11 players. And this season, as Abramovich just said, bollocks to that. I am not spending another, and I want some money back out of this. So, you've got this deadwood, as you call it, in your team, who are nowhere near the type of players that Sarri wants. So his hands were tied right at the beginning of the season, and now he's needing to implement this style of play, which he won't go back on. He will not go back on, just like Pep Guardiola won't go back on, and didn't in the first season with Man City. And he was getting slated left, right, centre from the media for not being pragmatic enough to change the system. He just said, no, this is my style of play, and I will get the players eventually to fit my style of play. So I think Sarri's getting a bit of a real rough ride by the Chelsea fans, or some Chelsea fans anyway. That's only an outsider's view looking in.
I'll actually leave that to Andy. I just want to say two key words, and I'm sure he can elaborate on that. That's in-game management and team selection. Those are the two critique points fans are actually rightfully addressing towards Sarri.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Up from here, I would say, well, there's agendas. I think agendas with a lot of fans here at Chelsea, and the problem is that in minds of like the majority of the fans, it can only be one who's in fault. So it is either the board or it is Sarri. It can never be both, and that's the problem, because people don't get it right. It can be both as well. And that's the case at the moment, because the board doesn't back Sarri, so Sarri can do only a limited fulfillation, if that is a word, of his actual targets. And on the other hand, Sarri doesn't do himself a favour when he substitutes always Mateo Kovacic for Ross Barkley, or the other way around at the 70th minute. Everyone knows it. It's like the last game, terrible. If you need a goal, what do you do?
Well, just on that, that's a really good point, because when I was doing a bit of research on Chelsea, and I was looking at some stats, if I can find it. Yeah, between most of your substitutions have been between 60 and 75 minutes, and you've subbed a defender for a defender once. You've subbed a midfielder for a midfielder 11 times. You've subbed a forward for a forward 11 times. A midfielder for a forward once, and a defender for a midfielder once. So it shows you that it's very much like for like changes all of the time, and there's nothing really different when you need, that little, that's something different. It's not working. We're a goal behind. So is that down to Sarri, or is that down to the playing staff, the squad? He's not the type of players that he wants.
He could easily do it. He could easily make some changes. He had two strikers, not talking about the quality of the strikers, but he had two strikers, so he could play two strikers if he wanted to. He could invert Hazard, playing him off maybe a Giroud. He could do many things if he wanted to, but in his mind, it is Sarri-ball, and Sarri-ball will always work. And if you're 2-0 behind, you're stuck by your guns.
Can I just stop you there 1 minute before you go on? And apologies, I'm only trying to. I don't watch Chelsea a great deal, so Yannick's tried to explain it to me in the past, and I still don't get it. What is Sarri-ball? What is it?
Jimmy, do you want to go ahead?
Not really, but okay. Well, Sarri-ball is more or less this high-intensity pressurizing on the ball, where you have this quick passing succession, where you form triangles. I mean, it's similar to Guardiola's style of play, where you more or less then have an overload on the left side, while the right side is more defensively solid, and you just try and pass the ball into the goal while having a high line and having your off the ball. When you're off the ball, then the team immediately press onto the ball, pressurize the opponents, harass them off the ball, and don't let them play. And we of course play out the back. So it's
who are the key protagonists in this Sarri-ball? Who are the players?
Okay. Yeah, that's easy.
Who are the players that are doing this press?
At Napoli, it was definitely a combination of their midfield and their fullback. So Gulam and Kasai, together with Alan. Alan was integral to that system. While they were doing that, if they did have the ball, there was a huge impetus on that left central midfielder, which was Marek Hamsik, scoring goals. We do not have that. Mateo Kovac is a very gifted footballer, but he doesn't score goals, and that is lacking. The nearest thing we have to that is Loftus-Cheek, and he's always injured or he's not being played. So then there's more reliance on the forwards scoring, Alvaro Morata and Olivier Giroud, enough said, than our wingers. So Eden Hazard had to carry the whole team because Willian and Pedro just aren't what they used to be. Or Pedro isn't what he used to be because Willian's never been a scoring winger anyway. And the point is, it worked in Italy, and I do believe that if he had that team in England, it would work here as well. But we do not have the players.
So my next question is what is Jorginho's role in all of this?
Andy?
He's a regista, a player who sits in the centre of the park and whips balls left, right, centre, short passes, long passes, finds the striker, but ideally picks up the ball from the central defenders or from the fullbacks and redistributes it. And that's the reason he is the integral part. And that's the reason why he has passing records in Serie A, because everything runs through him, which is our weakness this season, because everyone knew already after 4 or 5 games that if you stop him, you stop Chelsea. And that has been the case since then.
It's interesting. Obviously, this is a City, for everyone who's watching, this is a City and Chelsea, and we're talking about Chelsea first. We're talking about these things first. But just looking also, like now you've explained to me what this Sarri-ball is all about. I also looked at, you look at your goals this season. Hazard's got 15, Pedro 7, Willian 7, Giroud 6. I looked at some stats, and there was a really interesting stat whereby it was 10 or more pass sequence in open play. How many passes have been? How many sequences of play where there's been 10 or more passes? City top it with 661. Chelsea are second with 556. Then you've got Liverpool at 505, Spurs at 407, Arsenal at 376, United down at 335. So you've got 220 odd phases of play where there's been 10 or more passes in there. In build-up attacks, City have got 194, Liverpool 112, Chelsea 103. And then it goes down to 83 for Arsenal, 77 for Spurs, 64 for United. But what I was then more interested in is considering what basically you've got is this huge amount of possession within this area of the pitch where you are putting passes around through defence to Jorginho, through to whoever it is, Barkley, Hazard, whoever. 10 or more passes that lead to a shot or a touch in the opposition's box. Cardiff top it at 30. City are second at 29.3. Palace are third at 25.1. Southampton are 22.5. And you have to go all the way down to 10th to find Chelsea at 18.5. So what it's saying, these stats, when you look at them, is you have this huge amount of possession from defence to Jorginho or through to Kante or to Hazard or whoever, but you're not doing anything with it. You're doing absolutely nothing with it that leads to an area which is really dangerous, which is, you know, a shot on goal or a touch inside the area where somebody could score. Is that the problem?
Well, I mean, we do have a lot of. There was a stat which came out in early January, I think, or it was late December, where we created actually like third most in the Premier League, most chances. So we are creating chances, but it's more of a we're trying to pass it into the net, and no one thinks. I mean, this has been something that we've been actually complaining about for years now, even since Mourinho and before that no one takes a shot in this team. Eden Hazard will never be a world-class player until he does that. He very rarely does. And the point is that we've been playing with Alvaro Morata and Olivier Giroud for 6 months, and you know, I don't even have to explain why that didn't work, and that contributed to us just not scoring. And then it's the same yesterday when we lost against United. The first 20 minutes, we had a few chances. Higuain, if he would have put that on target, it would have been in goal, and the whole game would have maybe been different. But we don't take our chances, and then we just falter. Once we concede, look at the Man City game the other week. We switched off after, 4 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, just under.
Everyone just, heads go down, that's it. You know, as a Chelsea fan nowadays, if we concede first against a big team, game over. And that's very, very bad.
Why is he still sticking to 4 at the back? Because there's rumours today that he's going to keep that 4 at the back for Sunday. It's going to be a 4-3-3. So why does he stick with? When you look at it, you've got the likes of, you know, when I looked at some stats on appearances and things like that, and you know, you've got the likes of Christensen, who's only had 2 Premier League appearances, Cahill 1, Zappacosta 2, Emerson 4, Ampadu none. And yet you look at some of the others, Rudiger 25, 9 clean sheets, 1 goal. Alonso 25, 10 clean sheets, 1 goal. Luiz 25, 11 clean sheets, 2 goals. Azpilicueta 26, 11 clean sheets, no goals. Why does he stick with this rigid, 4 at the back?
Because there isn't any way to play Sarri-ball other than a back 4. I think it's not even in his mind to switch the back 4 to a back 3 or a back 5, whatever. And I think I can also understand that from some point of view, because if you listen to managers who have failed actually in a job, they're always saying one thing, and that is, once you start making adjustments to your system and you trust your system, but you see it's not working really, and some players are not really working in the system, and you try to make adjustments. Once you do that, it's maybe the definite point where you say the ship is going down, and there's no turning back from that. So I do not want him to change it to a back 5, because I don't think we can play that. But on the other hand, what I would suggest is that we actually try, maybe tactically, not necessarily the positions, but tactically the interpretation of the positions to be different. Because Maurizio Sarri has one plan, and the one plan doesn't work, so nothing works. With Guardiola, he plays 3 different systems in one game, and you can never expect it from Maurizio Sarri. I think I would be happy to at least have 2 and play 1 in one game and maybe the second one in the next one. But it's a long way to go.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just that I know Christensen's really highly rated, and certainly by a lot of Chelsea fans, but he's not really getting a chance, is he? So, and you look at the likes of Alonso and Azpilicueta, who last season and the season before were 2 of the best fullbacks in the Premier League, and
wing backs.
Okay, wing back. Okay. No. Yeah. I understand. Yeah, but I mean, I watched the game last night, and the defending was absolutely embarrassing. It was pathetic, and I was thinking, bring on Sunday. If that's the way that you're going to defend, then I think Aguero's in a real hot streak of form, and he'll be rubbing his hands on Sunday if Luiz and Alonso are getting dragged out of positions like they do. So anyway, I just thought we'd start off this video with asking you guys about Sarri, because, like I said, I spoke to Yannick and I was really excited about seeing Sarri, and because I know we played Napoli in the Champions League, we had them over 2 legs, and the football, I think, was 5-2 or something in one game. It was just like, it was so exciting. It was brilliant. It was some of the best Champions League matches I've ever been to. It was wonderful to watch. I mean, they're attacking, the way they moved the ball, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, I mean, personally, for me, give him time. If you do get out of the away from the top 4, and I think you just suck it and see next season, personally. But will he get time? It's not looking great, I must admit. I suppose a win on Sunday would maybe buy him some more time till the end of the season. But anyway, that sort of brings me to the end of you guys, and my questions to you about Sarri-ball and Chelsea and where they are now. I'm guessing you've got some sort of questions for me.
My question was just, as I think the first Guardiola season is now 3 years ahead, gone. You have surely memories on that season, and it seems really similar to the way Sarri came into Chelsea, and it hasn't been easy. So what can you actually say, as you've seen the development after that, that maybe could occur to Chelsea Football Club, or give us reasons why we should stick by Maurizio Sarri as a manager?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing, as we mentioned earlier, is we had this system, and it was quite odd as a City fan, a football fan, trying to work out exactly what Pep was doing, because we had our 4 at the back. We did go to a 3 on occasions, but mainly the 4 with the wing backs. And we had, like Sarri, you said about people shifting over to one side and overloading one side and having space on the other. What we were seeing was like left backs and right backs come inside and support the midfield when not got the ball, and it was quite, well, why is he there? Normally he'd be pushing up on the left winger and he'd be doing this, and it was very bizarre to look at, and you watched it back and thought, I can understand why he's doing that at that point, at that given point. And I think it's similar to what Sarri is trying to create with his Sarri-ball. If you believe in that thing, then it's a system. But the problem being is that we had the likes of Alexander Kolarov, who wasn't a great defender. We had Zabaleta coming to the end of his career and didn't have the legs at all. We had Vincent Kompany, who was still injured. We had Otamendi. We had Di Michaelis. I mean, we just didn't have the type of ball playing centre backs. And Fernandinho was more central prior to Pep when he came. And what Pep brought was this playing out from the back and spreading and making the defender spread wide, making the centre-back spread wide, and Fernandinho dropping deep to pick up the ball and creating havoc. And the other problem we had was the keeper. We had Bravo. Remember, he chose Bravo over Joe Hart, which I was more than happy with at the time. I was more than happy with at the time. A lot of City fans were not impressed, but Joe Hart wasn't great with his feet. A great shot stopper, but not great with his feet. And Bravo, for me, got a bit of unfair criticism because he was good with his feet on the whole, and a lot of the goals he conceded, he could never save them. He just couldn't. They were point blank headers. He was never expected, but it was always one shot on target, one goal. He's conceded again, but what that did was we could start seeing this formula of how we were going to spread wide, bring Fernandinho forward, push wing backs, or if we played with wing backs, or push our midfield wide and open up the pitch and make it as big as possible. And if you dared try to put 3 or 4 players forward, the keeper could bypass them, which we now see with Edison. I mean, he can put a ball anywhere on the park. So we'll always have 1 or 2 players free. And they don't have to be 20, 30 yards from goal. They can be 50 yards. And he'll ping it straight out onto just, the halfway line. So, yeah, that was the problem at the beginning. It was we didn't have the players for his system, but Pep decided that it don't matter what. And he said that. He did say, look, it's going to take time. I need the right players. And what he did was went out and identified Ben Mendy, Kyle Walker, got John Stones was here, Laporte. He went after. He's the only player he's gone after twice. If you got Pep goes after you once and you don't come, he won't go back after you again. But Laporte said, I'm injured and I want to do myself justice, come back in 6 months' time. And he did. He's the only player. And we've seen what Laporte's been like. He's been absolutely sensational. Does that answer your question?
Perfectly.
you need younger, quicker, fitter. You need quick fullbacks, certainly in Pep's system.
Yeah, Sarri system likewise. Marcos Alonso is not up to the standards. Azpilicueta, as Zabaleta comes to the end of his, let's say, peak. And then, of course, wingers. You've spent a lot of money on wingers. Sané, Sterling. We need these kind of players at our club. If we ever going to spend that kind of money, because we don't have the funds necessarily that Manchester City has, is the question. And I think that it will be down to if we are ever going to be as successful as we have been for the last 15 years, because I think we are slowly coming to the end of our reign in the English football.
Well, I think if you look at certainly the players that we brought in, I think Walker was the oldest one out of all of them. But he was so quick. He's not technically brilliant, but his recovery speed is incredible. And then we have Ben Mendy, who technically is very, very good, just injury prone. But the wide players in particular, and you think of the age that they were brought in, I don't doubt that the likes of Sterling, Sane, etc., Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, they were brought in, they were Pep players. They were brought in solely on the instructions of Pep, some of them prior to he even got there, under Manuel Pellegrini's reign. So the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, playmaker, Pep identified what he needed. And the likes of Sterling, Sane, they were young. And this is something I'm thinking, you guys have got a wonderful academy. You've got some fantastic, amazing young kids. I'm not talking kids like we've got Phil Foden, local lad, etc., etc. What I'm talking about is players who've been around that squad for 2, 3, 4 years, have been, winning trophies at a youth level. And we brought Gabby Jesus in at 18 years of age. Now, if you think now, how much will Gabriel Jesus be? We paid 29 million for him from Palmeiras, was it? And we spent a lot of money on Sterling, but he was young. We bought 19-year-old Leroy Sané as well. Then we bought Bernardo Silva, who was only 21 when he came to City. He's 23 now, 24 nearly. Who is just a natural replacement for David Silva. So Pep has actually, what he's done is he's looked at his system, saw that in that first season, unless I completely change the team, I'm not going to be able to be successful. And basically said, we need these, but we're going to have to work the system. We're going to have to play the system. And if we're unsuccessful, we're unsuccessful this season. I'll take the hit, and that'll be my fault, my problem. But I am not changing my system, and we will get the players to fit. We got 4 players, 3 players that suddenly, with Edison, with Walker, with Mendy, completely changed the whole dynamic. 3 players changed the whole dynamics. Laporte has added to that, but those 3 players, the goalkeeper and Mendy and Walker, were the ones that suddenly all the other players a year under Pep's tutelage, now everything clicked. And now we've seen with Mendy's injuries, we've had Delph and Zinchenko converting them from left midfielders, wingers into left backs. The guy's a genius. He's a genius, and it just, you just have to keep faith with that type of. I don't know what to say. This philosophy. Sometimes you've got to stick with it, and if it means this season it doesn't work for you guys, next season it might. But next season it might not. But then you've not lost anything. You've gone out of the Champions League if you have such a bad season that you're fifth. Stick with it, because
wait a minute. No offense, and sorry to interrupt you, but it's easy to say when you've been in the Champions League continually for the last 6 years. So the thing is, if we don't get into the Champions League this year, then it'll be that we missed the Champions League 3 times in the last 4 years. That isn't good enough for Chelsea Football Club. It isn't. And
but I'll stop you.
Have a problem with that.
I'll stop you there and say that. I'll stop you there and say that's not Sarri's fault.
No, I'm not saying that's Sarri's fault.
So why not give him it? So everything is on Sarri's shoulders. And you're saying, well, we haven't been in the Champions League. Are you getting a bit spoiled? We have been in the Champions League 3 out of the last 4 seasons, and we need this, we need that. Well, you brought in a manager to change the boring philosophy football that you had under Conte, and now you say, well, if we don't this season, well, that's just not good enough.
Now, wait. I am not in the Sarri out brigades. I am still Sarri in. What I'm trying to say is that it's not as easy as to say this is the manager's fault. It's an accumulation of the manager, the players, and especially the board. It all comes together, and it all plays together. And
well, the board won't get sacked. There'll only be one person sacked.
It doesn't matter if they don't get sacked. It's still a problem because we have Marina Granovskaya, who is in the equivalent of our director of football, who is very good at finances but has no clue whatsoever when it comes to footballing. And she plays a big part in the signings of Zappacosta, of Danny Drinkwater, etc., Bakayoko, because we don't have a long-term philosophy. That's why we need so urgently a director of football, and we have only the short-termism.
But that's not Sarri's fault.
No, the only 2 critique points that we Chelsea, or let me say, the rational Chelsea fans have of Sarri is, first of all, his in-game management, his substitutions. I don't know how, and I'd actually then pose this question to you, back at you, how it was with Guardiola in that first season. His substitution usage is atrocious. It really is, and it's just. Doesn't bring change. As you said, it's a like-for-like substitution. Nothing really happens. The opposition doesn't have to change things up. And uninspiring. The only sparks of hope that we have with Hudson-Odoi, he doesn't play. He doesn't even send him to warm up yesterday. He plays. He brings that peaked. He brought on Zappacosta while we were trailing by 2 goals. A defender defender like-for-like substitution instead of bringing on another striker, or even Hudson-Odoi, even if it be a like-for-like winger, do something, but not a defender. It made no sense. And the other one is the team selection. You say that you will have a field day on Sunday, and I agree with you because.
Oh no, I never said we'll have a field day. I said if you defend like you did last night, we're all have a field day.
Last week, no, I'm sorry, you're right, but. The potential of you having a field day on Sunday is very high if we stick with that back 4, because Marcos Alonso has proven he's out of his depth there. He hasn't got the speed. He hasn't got the defensive ability. And Starry, even though he seems to not actually rate him himself, he continues to play him. And no one has a clue why, And the thing is with David Luiz and Rudiger, those are 2 very impulsive and attacking-minded central defenders. Craig Christensen there, who is more this, I'll mop up after you. You can go in front and I'll stay here and keep things tight. But he doesn't. He builds on defensive frailties and no one understands why. And he doesn't change things up. And I'm not asking him to change the formation, but change players that are just not performing, that don't that they aren't able to get used to this new system. Was that the same with Guardiola? Because that is a big difference with Sarri. But as said, I'm not Sarri out. to get away from Chelsea, because you're right, we actually addressed that more often. What I'd really be interested in from a City point of view is, because we're not very confident for Sunday, of course, for obvious reasons. What could you say is, in the City squad, the only flaw which Chelsea could maybe exploit and, you know, maybe get something from the game on Sunday? Tell us your secrets.
there is one, and it can't be proven unless you were within the squad and within the players and within the dressing room and have got the ear of every player. There is only one thing, and that's complacency. And I think that's something that happened in the build-up to the Newcastle game, the Newcastle defeat. And then you watched that game when we got beat by Newcastle, and you saw literally every single player looked complacent. They looked like they went into that game thinking, it's just no problem whatsoever. We'll wait Newcastle, we'll blow them away, and we'll... And I think after that game, when Pep Guardiola locked him in the dressing room for 45 minutes, and I think by all accounts, he went absolutely apeshit and tore a strip off every single player and said, you will be out, you will not get a place, I will bring in whoever. And Guardiola is very stubborn. And if it meant Aguero is out of the team for six games, Sterling, it won't make any difference what reputation you've got. And I think he made it perfectly clear that night that this is not going to happen again on my watch this season. It is not. And if you do it again, you're out, and that is it. So I think our biggest fallback is complacency. Now we're in a bit of a time in the season whereby we're in 4 competitions. We've got Schalke tomorrow night. We've got you guys, etc. on Sunday. We're still in the FA Cup. We are rotating. I have no idea who the team is going to be on Sunday. I could hazard a guess, but the problem with Guardiola is you think this is a cup final. It's the first trophy we could put on the table again, and it'll be the first trophy I think in our history that we won back-to-back trophies. So that's a big achievement, certainly for little old City. But I still have no idea who will play. I've got no idea. But what I think he's done, and you've seen over the last sort of 2 weeks since that Newcastle defeat 3 weeks ago, is that complacency is that there. He's prepared to put out strong teams against Rotherham, against Burton, against Newport County on Saturday. That was a really strong team.
That was,
and nobody expected that. The likes of Sane and Mahrez and Bernardo, Fernandinho to play. So my only concern at the moment is still the same concern I've had for the last 2 years when Ben Mendy don't play, and that's our left back position. Laporte did wonderfully well at left back when he's played there against Salah. He had Salah in his pocket. Salah hardly got a touch when we beat Liverpool 2-1. But we do lose a lot when he drifts over and he has to play on the left-hand side. I've got a feeling Zinchenko will play on the left. And he can be hit or miss. He can be brilliant like he was against you guys, or he can be absolutely garbage and get absolutely destroyed by somebody. So if Zinchenko plays, I'd put somebody who is lightning quick on him and just run at him. Absolutely run at him. He's talking about Hudson-Odoi.
Of course, I mean that is the obvious one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I would do if I was Sarri, and if there was I've heard Zinchenko's going to be the left back. I'd say to Hudson-Odoi, as soon as you get the ball, run at him, run behind him, play 1-2s, run, get him going backwards because he's not a great defender. Delph is more solid in the tackle. Zinchenko can have great games when he's got the ball. He's technically very, very good. Very good. But if you had Hudson-Odoi up against Zinchenko on Sunday on that big pitch, that would be my one worry. It would be my real one, especially if Hudson-Odoi, gets tackled 3-4 times, but keeps going at him. He'll wear Zinchenko down, or he could wear him down and he could make a major cock-up which he could be in. So that complacency and still the left back position is a problem because Mendy's not travelled. So,
well, I mean that not much hope, unfortunately, because we're not going to play him. So yeah.
You never know. You never know.
No, that's something that is for certain. I mean, we're hoping at least in the Europa League that he plays, because that used to be at least the competition in meaningless games away at some Romanian fast place where Hudson Odoi minutes. He's not going to play in a cup final. I can tell you that for free, and I can tell you also for free, it's also very unlikely that he even gets substituted. I mean, brought onto the field at some point. It's not going to happen.
Well, we've got, I mean, the people who haven't travelled, I mean, Stones hasn't travelled, so we know there's going to be a different centre-back pairing. So it's not going to be Stones and Laporte. Stones hasn't travelled to Germany, as I'm saying, for today. So we don't know whether that's a niggle, an injury. I'm surprised. I can't imagine it's resting him, because he's not played loads of games recently because there's been a lot of rotation. So we'll have to keep our ear to the ground as to whether a Stone's got a niggle, or is he just resting him for tomorrow's game. But what are your thoughts on the lineup for Sunday? So I don't know, one of you want to go through who you think will play?
I don't think there's much to debate. I think Andy and I will be able to say the same, not because we want it, but because it's so predictable, and that's going to be Kepa, Azpilicueta, Rudiger, David Luiz, Marcos Alonso, Jorginho, N'Golo Kante. Okay, it could be Ross Barkley this time because Kovacic. No, it's going to be Kovacic. And then Eden Hazard, Higuain, and Willian. That's it. I bet my house on it.
Really?
Yes.
And do you think that would, if I said to you, if you could pick an 11 to play, who would you pick?
I will take that one. I think we would play, and I can speak for us both here. We would play Kepa. We would play Azpilicueta right back. We would play Rudiger, Luiz centre back. We would play Emerson left back. We would play maybe Kovacic where Jorginho used to play. Then we would play Kante on the right, Loftus-Cheek on the left in the midfield positions. And then we would play over the flanks Hazard, Higuain and Hudson-Odoi.
I would only add that I'd rather have Christensen over Rudiger or David Luiz, any of the two, whatever. I just want Christensen paired with one of the others.
And that's interesting because it's not hugely different, is it? Really, it's not huge. The players you pick there, all right. I know the impact might be different, but you're saying Emerson for Alonso. You're talking about what, Jorginho being dropped and playing. Who did you say? Kovacic in that holding role, and then ahead of them, you've literally swapped Willian for Hudson-Odoi.
Oh, you've got Christensen, Emerson, Loftus.
Oh, you said Christensen might come in. Yeah, it's
Loftus-Cheek. You've got Hudson-Odoi. Those are 5 changes. So that is half the team nearly. So
okay.
That can be, I mean, look at Liverpool. They only got in Van Dijk, and that changed the whole time dynamic. So
which brings me back to my point about Sarri. It's about, and what Guardiola did. It's about getting the right players.
Yeah.
Don't mean 5-10 changes. It means just getting the 1 or 2 or 3 players that is in absolutely imperative to how you want to play, your style. So man, don't give up on Sarri. That's all I'm saying. Okay, my team. I think Muric will stay in net. I think he'll keep his place, and rightly so. I think if a keeper, there were a couple of games earlier where they swapped over. What home, and I think Ederson was in net for one game and Muric in the other. But I think mainly Muric has played, and I think we should stick with a keeper. Like I said, it's so difficult with Guardiola. I'm going to stick with a Walker at right back. If Stones is fit and it's not an injury concern, I'll go for Stones and Laporte. I think he'll play Zinchenko because he had a great game against you guys. Fernandinho will hold. Now, this is where I think there'll be... I'm not sure. I think he might go for a little bit of more solidity. And he might go Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne ahead of Fernandinho. And he might drop David Silva to the bench. Wide right, Bernardo Silva. On the left, Raheem Sterling and Sergio Aguero up front, which means I'm dropping David Silva, Sane, Foden to the bench. And I might be wrong. I mean, David Silva could come in for Gundogan. He could come in for Kevin De Bruyne. But we're just blessed with superb players. And we're not talking about 20, 30. We're talking about just an area of maybe 3 or 4 players that can rotate really well. It could be Mahrez on the right. Bernardo Silva might take Gundogan's, place. But I'd rather... I'm not a Mahrez fan, I'll be honest. And if you see any of the videos that we've done, get to lots of heated discussions with Algerian Mahrez fanboys and things like that, and you give us loads of grief on the channel and everything. I'm not a Mahrez fan. I think he was a luxury buy. And I said to somebody on Twitter, an Algerian fan just turned around and said, oh, you're always going on about Sterling over them. And I said, no, I'm not bothered about Sterling. I'm talking about Mahrez in particular. And if Leicester gave us Chilwell as a straight swap in the summer for Mahrez, I'd snap their hand off. I really would. Because, yeah, he might need more time. But I think Mahrez could play. He could do. Pep might give him that. A little bit of a boost. But for me, that'd be my team. Solid. Hard-working, and I think that's going to be the problem. I think it's going to come down to that midfield battle, and if you're right and you think Jorginho's going to play, then we need the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo and Gundogan swarming all over them. But I still worry about that left-back position. So
come on.
Sorry, if you're listening, Laporte's going to play left-back, not Zinchenko, so don't bother with Hudson-Odoi. But yeah, if Hudson-Odoi is up against Zinchenko, could be interesting. But you're saying you doubt it. So finally then, give me a score prediction. We'll get one. Well, you'll give 2 and I'll give mine.
Okay.
So
Jimmy.
Yeah, just to add to that, what's sad? No matter how you turn that, whoever you choose for that lineup, I'm petrified. It doesn't matter, even if it's your second string or third string with Mahrez or whatever. I'm petrified. I have got no confidence. So, as a result, my prediction for Sunday will be 3-1 City.
Okay, Andy.
We are not going to score 3-0 City.
Okay, I'm going to stick with the charity shield. I'm going to go 2-0 City. I'm going to think it'll be a bit tighter than it was. I don't think it'll be anything like the 6-0 drumming. I think it'll be a tighter game, and I think it's always a nervy occasion, cup finals. So I don't think it's like a Premier League game where you get a couple of early goals and suddenly everything explodes. I think it'll be a tight game, and I think you guys will come at us, we'll come at you, and I think it'll be a bit cagey for the first half, and then I think our attacking intent will just probably take over and maybe a goal in each half. But I don't care whether it's 1-0. I'll take 1-0 and a trophy to start the season. But be interesting, because like I said, you guys beat us on Sunday. You've got a trophy under Sarri. Is that so bad?
No.
You'd take that now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, can't say anything against that, but I think it would ease a lot of the burden on Maurizio Sarri because, that debate, he's never won anything, that would shut up a lot of people who are doubting him. But, because you made it sound a bit like that, I don't want to criticize him. But, there are things that are just so frustrating about him. And it's very assuring to hear that you said that there were that parallels with Kolarov also at City. So maybe we never know. Maybe on Sunday, team turns up, they decide to press longer than 15 minutes. That's something that Andy said on our podcast the other day. which is a big problem. And then we might win. You never know. I don't want to give up hope, but all the signs do point towards City steamroll us once again.
Well, I mean, like I said to you before, if this was a vlog we were doing in the first season under Guardiola, and we were sort of 6 months, 8 months in, and you were asking us about how's it gone, we'd probably be like you guys going, I expected a bit more, and where's this Barcelona-style football, and blah blah blah, and we'd be doing the same thing, and we won nothing, and we had this whole pressure of the Guardiola thing coming in, and everyone was going, he ain't that great. C's been found out in the Premier League. Oh, everyone said it was this, he can't do it. And then you only have to look 3 or 4 changes to the team. Everything just clicked after a year. And the following season, last season, we were absolutely incredible. Listen, I don't know whether you've got any more questions for me. I don't know. You're going to win I'll ask you, you're going to win the Europa League?
Like to think so. It's actually, as Andy said already before, that's our best chance of getting in the Champions League.
Is it going to be what sort of team are you going to put out on Thursday?
Hopefully.
Thursday, it might be tonight. By the time this podcast, this vlog goes out, is it going to be a strong one, or is it going to be?
Well, Sarri never rotates, so it's going to be the same team as ever.
Strong.
Well, listen, guys. I want to say a massive thank you to Andy and Jimmy from the Attacking Two. If people want to listen to more of your podcast, where can they find you?
People can find us under the Attacking Two podcast on Twitter. They can find us on iTunes, on Spotify, on Anchor, wherever you want to listen to us. Podcasts, new podcasts every week. Videos also on YouTube, so you can also watch us podcasting. If you like to, and we will be happy if you subscribe, if you give us a nice rating, and if you follow us on Twitter. And we are very much, we're appreciating the chance on getting on this Manchester City channel, as we are having not so much collaborations away from our own podcast. So we are very happy to have gotten the chance from you. Thank you for having us.
You're more than welcome. What we'll do is we'll put the links in the description, so if people want to go and follow Chelsea fans or football fans in general. If you did, you could have come and seen us before and after the game. But listen, I want to say again a massive thank you to the guys, to Jimmy and Andy, and don't forget, go and follow them if you're a football fan or you're a Chelsea fan. Good luck for Sunday, guys. We'll see. Maybe, I tell you what. Maybe next week we can. We'll see what the result's like, and maybe I might just turn off my Skype and not bother if you've lifted the Carabao Cup final. But if you do, I'll be gracious in defeat. And what we'll do is maybe we'll catch up and do a quick sort of overview of the game. Yeah. Listen, guys, take care. This is Andy from Man City Fan TV. Don't forget, click subscribe, click notification. Don't forget, comment below the video, and we'll see you soon.